Hello everyone, how you doing today? Been working on the space carrier quite a bit. Not quite as much time as I wanted to get into it. I didn't have a huge amount of Imperium time, but it is really getting close on most things now, especially like the interior. Now I have been making some changes along the way, and a lot of what I've been doing is getting things on sensors, checking oxygen in certain zones. Um, Little detail things here and there, tweaks, fixes, and also working on new areas of the ship. At this point, I've only got two known rooms that are not completed yet. And let me start buzzing around a little quicker here. One of those rooms is up front here, and this leads kind of to the project I would like to get working on too, is to build a vehicle that mounts up over on the front side here and then kind of merges into the ship through this wall. If you follow, I did something like that on a smaller scale with the Transit L2 and the Hafata spaceport. But what I'm thinking for the craft that I actually want to have here is, well, obviously a lot bigger, but I wanted to build a vehicle that had front and rear cockpits that could probably hold about eight 320K storage plus another 320K harvest. I'd want it equipped with miners and possibly some multi tools, um, and be very powerful in means of getting down to a planet and back up into space carrying a full load of loot and resources. And then perch up on the ship, mount into this area, and have it like merge as it was like one room, like joins with the ship. That would be my ideal goal on building this craft. So it's got a lot of hefty specifications for it, and of course I want it to look nice on the front of the ship. So I kind of want it to, in some regards match the body line that's already here as well, and then of course allow you to walk in to this ship directly from the other ship through this wall. Now this is the one room I don't have finished simply because I don't know how it needs to be yet until that ship's done. I actually did detail it all the way up into that area. Um, Now, other things. Here, we're in daytime this time, so I'll just kind of show you, get an idea on what a lot of the ship looks like in daytime too. Of course, the night light is really tweaked for everything. Um, Now, where am I? No, I got to go get up to the flight deck here, which is way the heck up here. The pool area, I decided to make some pretty hefty changes to it. Well, not big time changes, just a lot of coloring changes. Um, it was the normal orange and um, MCRN theme before with the orange lighting and whatnot. I played with it quite a bit. I decided to add in some blue and some different colors, and actually in the lighting here, I've got probably the most amount of different light colors I've ever used in one room space, and I think I've got four different shades of color up there. Um, and the whole point of this was to create a water-like reflection look, trying to get it to look like you're getting that feedback from having the water down here. So I've got like there's a gray light, and there's a teal light, and there's a purple light, and there is a uh, like a blue light all in one area, trying to create a different lighting effect here. So these are just some of the things that I've been trying to do, and really trying to tweak out stuff. Get every room finalized, make sure it's got oxygen, make sure it's got this, that, and the other thing, and basically get everything finalized in the ship. Now, other areas of the ship, there's several, and I found a couple areas that I didn't even realize existed before. Well, I realized they existed, I just forgot about them. So, like little things back in engineering, I've got these lower chambers here. Uh, I guess I don't have a light or a door on it yet, though. Well, I've got areas like that done up. I did do one of the crew rooms. I found another crew room that was not finished off. I didn't realize that as well. So there is that case. In the hangar itself, I got the spotlights off right now, but been doing little tweaks here and there. I think I've got all the lights off actually. Oh yeah, hangar lights are off too. And the hangar spotlights. Um, but let's see. Oh yeah, the other area. So we've now got an armory as well. And I've been kind of setting this area up a little bit different. So basically, you check out weaponry or whatever you needed for missions behind the wall here. It's pretty big area. Of course, I had to fill in a lot of space. It actually has an outer hallway that goes along the edge of the ship over here as well, with some windows and whatnot. And then I don't know, some extra area up here. I'm not even sure exactly what to do with all that. I set up this armory room to basically like it would be a bunch of shelves holding equipment, ammunition, and whatever else that would be there. Then it has its own access door. As in the bridge, let's see, let's get up there a minute, a little ways away. The bridge is underway. It's not finished, so it's very plain. I don't have much detail in here. I was kind of messing with lighting, figuring out where I wanted to get switches, how many switches do I want. So I put in 6 right now. These would be controlling things such as thrusters, power, performance mode, probably some weapons, possibly a shield lever. Still evaluating exactly all the switches that need to be here, and this can be extended. If I need more switches, I can add this out, but I need to fill in a lot of the bridge here because it's just basically a whole bunch of open space right now. And I have tested this ship in survival in atmosphere. And what I can say, how it currently sits, is it can technically go in the atmosphere and fly and maintain its altitude unloaded with weight. It wasn't designed to do it in the first place, so I mean, keep in mind this was supposed to be just a space carrier. It has no landing gear. It doesn't provide hangar access to the ground either. However, if you try to like set this down on the ground, and you can technically take off it, providing there is nothing in front of you. I mean, like if there's a little tree or something and you get snagged on it, you don't have enough power to lift off vertically. You basically have to try to tilt the front end upwards a little bit and use the rear thrust to push the ship out into space. But it's really dangerous and highly recommended not to go down to a planet's surface, because especially if you get in lower altitude or somehow get yourself stuck on something, then you're going to have a nightmare. Now, one modification I was thinking about doing here, let me get back into light here. I was looking at this rear thruster area and the CPU that I have available right now. So we're still about 1.4 million CPU available at Tier 4. So that means, yes, I can put in more thrusters on this ship. Should I do it or not? Well, basically, right now it can do maximum speed in space. So I believe it's 100 ms. It turns. I won't say it turns quickly. It turns how you would feel a ship this size would turn, I think. In fact, I think that's pretty accurate here, even in creative. So when I'm flying around, you can see me tilting and turning. Obviously, it's really slow. I won't want like a small SV to control like this, but it does fly around. Now, I don't know. I have to do a weight test on this too. If this thing was loaded up with a bunch of stuff docked to it, which wasn't the intent in the first place, I'm not sure. Now, right now, I'm just trying to go upward, and this is my upward speed, which is very, very bad. And this is, keep in mind, um, it has no storage or anything. Well, I think it's got one ship docked to it right now. I think I forgot to delete it. But, oop, let me straighten you out. Alright. But other than that, as in the interior, literally, I think, besides that front room and one crew room, which shouldn't take that long, all the interior at least is well underway. Um, so there is that. Now something else happened too, where all of a sudden, like the other day, I was playing this and my frame rate was doing really good, and all of a sudden it seems to be crappy again. I don't know if that's because I got the ship thrusters turned on, but it's I'm not sure on that one. But all I can say is most things have been tweaked out more. I've got one more room I want to revisit and tweak out in detail, and I did that to some other rooms. I just want to get an update there out there and show you what I've been working on. As in labeling the decks and the floors and all that stuff, I'm still experimenting. I tried a couple things that I didn't like. I'm having trouble with the color coordination thing for two reasons. One, I don't have colors available because the palette's all used up. And two, it would be a lot easier on a SV or something where you have multiple blocks for a wall. But the problem with CVs or any bases or anything like that is the fact that uh, the blocks are so big. I'm trying to do like certain color on certain decks. I don't know. It's a little bit more problematic than I would have liked. Now, of course, I did something like that on the Acepolis. Um, that ship was different. This one's, it is MCRN. I'm trying to, obviously keep it the MCRN theme like the other ships that were done. Um, so just like say I took this deck and I just changed one of these colors over here to, I don't know, something else. Um, it just kind of looks out of place. Like, whoa, that's kind of weird. And the colors that I got to pick from aren't exactly my choice colors either. So, um, in fact, the problem I've got is I probably had too many shades of orange in this palette. As you can see, there's like 5 different shades of just orange. And this was used for different parts, especially on the Tashi. And this was mostly the same color palette on regards to that as the Tashi. Like I would paint some parts this shade versus this shade, depending on what texture that was, so they'd blend in better. Same idea between some of this stuff over here. And then of course, like this one here, I was using as texture light colors, or sometimes this one, depending on what texture light it is. Some need to be brighter than others. But basically, I don't have many colors to pick from, and I don't want to do like walls yellow or red or blue. Green's already kind of reserved for the farm, things like that. So it's a little tricky. I do have all the elevators done, and they all have number of floors on them. Um, but yeah, it's just one of those things that I've been really trying to figure out. But I will say that at this stage, though, the ship is really close to being done. I'm thinking tomorrow or the next day. I think I'm going to do a build video on this one over here to try to build this complicated ship that I want it to have a whole bunch of specifications uh, and do a bunch of stuff. So it's going to be a very, I don't know, technical ship. It's not going to be built for looks. However, the front side of it, I want it to match and blend in with the ship just fine. Wow, yeah, I don't know what the deal is with my frame rate all of a sudden. It was so smooth the other day. And it's almost like kind of like, did something change again? Um, but yeah, here, let me just pull this thing up. Now, if you were going to, take off into space, you've got a lot of lift or power if you get yourself in a vertical situation, so you can get out of the atmosphere quite easily this way. It just takes a little while to turn. And yeah, a mod would be to possibly put in some more lift thrusters on this ship, at least 2, but everything I do in those regards would be kind of messing with areas on the ship. Right now I'm kind of looking at these rear thrusters in this area here. Now the ship has 6 large lift thrusters on it, even at that. So I've got basically there's 4 up there, and then there's 2 more in the back, and I wanted to double the back ones to 4, but I would have to take this thruster, put it back 1 square, and put another one in this location. That is going to raise havoc on the room that's above it here, some, but I don't think I think it'll be worthwhile to have the extra lift thrust. And this is like a really dangerous room to go in anyway. It's nothing but thrusters. I think there might be a generator in here somewhere too. I do have to test it for power, but I think it's pretty solid on power, I think. I don't have the shield on right now, but it's looking pretty good. I mean, well, I'm in space. Obviously, it uses more power on the land. I should have looked at that when I was flying up. But I will double check that too. If it needs another generator, no big deal. I've got, obviously, there's room on the ship to add in a lot of stuff. And technically, it could have a lot more storage on it. Right now, it has 8 320K storage units, all in the front crafting area. Doesn't have any harvest storage because it doesn't do any harvesting. I did up the ammo storage as well. It was 80K. I brought it to 112K. And maybe that could be increased more, but how I've got all these container systems running throughout the walls and floors and everything around this zone, it's really tricky to get more space available. And then right on the other side of the wall over here too, you've got crew rooms and things like that. So I can't really dig in that way very much at all. Oh yeah, and teleporters too. Yeah, I'm starting to add teleporters. There'll be a teleport in the bridge, teleport at the farm, teleporter in the crafting area. The crafting area teleporter technically could double as hangar teleporter as well. Basically, all the critical areas that you'd want to get to for ship function and survival gameplay, I just want you to be able to get there really quickly. And that's basically it. So I haven't really been working on anything else because, yeah, the goal was to get this thing done, and then I can kind of move on with other stuff. I've got a Creel space station to look at as well, Creel POI that I still haven't finished the interior of, and then some Scar stuff. Speaking of Scar stuff, probably the next day or 2, I'll release another Scar item, possibly 2 because they're small. I've got the Scar little storage thing and a Scar defense tower, and I was thinking about trying to get both of those out, or maybe one of those and one of the 2 small HVs for them. So that'll be more of a short-term thing. Also, one last thing, Excalibur's challenge: build a asymmetrical moving thing. It can be a CV, SV, or HV, and intended to be completely asymmetrical. That is challenging. I mean, I had some ideas of stuff I wanted to build, especially in the short term, things to support this ship better. Now, it's brought up a few times that another SV that can move HVs would be kind of nice. Now, I did build the Condor, and that can move. Well, it was a project with T-Rex where it could move his tank well. It gets it, from point A to point B, but it's not good enough or big enough to move like the ballista tank, and that is, or other tanks, quite frankly. It's also set up for top mounting. So one thought I've had on this challenge, and something I want to build anyway, is a SV mover designed completely different than the Condor. The whole problem that's really messing with me though is, although my idea is semi-asymmetrical on it to start with, like full asymmetrical, like having the thrusters in different places on each side of the ship and everything, with just terrible weight weight distribution, and a nightmare of trial and errors, to see how it would actually work. It sounds really scary, and there's a reason in reality why anything that flies in the atmosphere is not asymmetrical. It just doesn't happen, because it doesn't work. And that is a problem. Now, in straight space, yes, it doesn't matter. It doesn't care. You don't have aerodynamics. You can make anything. You can build a big box and, rectangle offset to one side, and it can fly fine in space. But when you're dealing with HVs and SVs, that have to, well, HV would probably be less concerning, but SV that has to fly in the atmosphere, that's, I don't know. I can't even think of a realistic looking idea of something to build for that. But I think I'm going to attempt a SV like tank mover, a heavy SV lifter to get tanks and stuff down to planets. And I'm gonna try to go as asymmetrical as I can with it. But I I really, for cosmetic purposes as well as function, I don't think I can really like offset the thrust all over the place to make it like totally asymmetrical. Now, one other thought on building something for the challenge would be a CV. The CV doesn't care as much. I kind of learned that when I built the Draper. Thrusters are not the same place on both sides of the ship, and it seems to work just fine. But that's a CV again, so it is different. And I don't really want to build another CV right now. That my only other idea for an asymmetrical design would be an asymmetrical Scar carrier. But I just don't want to get involved in another big project right now for that. So it's just, I don't want a 3-week long project building another big ship at this moment in time. Of course, someday I will again, but I really want to dive into some SVs and HVs and, see what I can do with Alpha 12. And not to mention another goal that I'd like to do, realizing like the Ballista again was it was one of the smallest armored tanks I could build with maximum weaponry, and it just came out short of 70,000 CPU when I built it. Obviously, the CPU for HVs has been moved up since then, so that would allow for a little bit bigger version of that tank. And a lot of people complain too that they would like it to have more thrust power, better strafing, things like that. Yeah, I can see it. A little bit heavier armor, same weapon count, quicker. And there's another 30,000 CPU to play with to make that happen. So that would be kind of a fun project as well. But again, I can't use it for Excalibur's project because there's no way I'm willing to go asymmetrical on something like that. It's got to be the firing position and how the turrets are set up and this and that. I can't, I don't really want to try asymmetrical tank. It just doesn't make much sense to me. In fact, you just don't see that in reality. Maybe some sci-fi stuff, and it could work, and a tank could still be a lot easier than an SV. SVs would probably be the worst to do asymmetrically. But it is, I mean, needless to say, my mind's been turning like big time on what could I possibly do for the challenge, and I'm trying to come up with plausible ideas, and of course I want to have them tie into the factions and build something useful if I could, rather than just something for looks. So yeah, I'll think on that. But yeah, I might try to do this one as a video tutorial here. Also, there was a lot of comments asking about sensors and switches and like a tutorial on that again. In fact, I got one comment on my old video too saying that everything I did in the video doesn't work anymore, which I kind of looked at it and I'm like, yeah, I don't understand because nothing changed. And everything I did there is the same stuff I'm doing in this ship, and it does work. So I didn't follow that comment at all. But anyway, you all have yourself a good day. Sorry I didn't have a whole lot to show you right now. It's all this thing here, and I'm really happy though because it's probably at least 95% complete now, and that's good. I mean, it's been lingering around since last year, um, and there was even some talk. Originally I was like, oh, maybe I can get this done by Christmas. Yeah, right. Okay, that was a very foolhardy comment to say. Um, Anyway, you all have yourself a good day, and I will have another video tomorrow or the next day on building a front vehicle here. Of course, the project's technical and it's going to need a lot of stuff, but it's not a big, long project either because it's not going to have much interior. It's not going to do much else besides hold stuff, mine, and dock. I mean, so, and have a lot of lift thrust. I actually want it to be able to be usable on high gravity planets as well. So, all right. Well, anyway, see you later, all.